Big animals sometimes wander far from their normal range. We had a bear some time back that originated down in South Florida somewhere, and it was terminated in Athens, near Athens, Alabama, which is a town west of me, just a few miles south of Tennessee. That bear went a long way. Well, there've been a lot of reports of cats lately in untraditional places, let's put it that way. Some far, far, far from what's interpreted as their range. Now, there's always people seeing big house cats and bobcats and thinking they're mountain lions, but there's been some interesting photographs of late which seem to underpin that. And then I had my own case when I was a boy. And I walked up on something, should not have been in the area, walking in the woods. So you never know when you're in the woods like this, just what might be lurking behind the bush, behind a tree, silently crouched, waiting to pounce on thee. That's what a cat does. They like silence. Bears have a hard time being silent. And spiders are silent though. I'll go around, I won't disturb his nest. Yeah, there's a big walnut tree back there. But see, that's the thing, guys. What do you do if you encounter a big animal like that? Well, most people have two instincts, it's fight or flight, and the idea of fighting something like that is off the question. So most people want to fly, well, run. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the absolute worst thing you can do. Because if you run from a predator, you're going to trigger its predator instinct. Your running tells it that you are prey. You're something to eat. And it's going to come after you. And there's no predator, even if it only had two legs, that you're going to outrun. A two-legged critter of any type, except human, is going to outrun you. And do so in very short order. So, if you're up on an animal, especially if you're in close proximity, you might be in trouble. Now, I'm going to tell you what I did when I saw that big cat. But bear are another special case. You know, it's always good if you know you're going to be out in territory where there just might possibly be a bear to carry some bear spray. Another thing, when you're out in the woods in bear country, make racket when you walk along so you don't surprise them. Because most of the time, your biggest danger is if you come up on a mother and her cubs. And so if they hear you coming, Mama is going to evacuate with her cubs, and you won't run into them, and everybody be happy. Now, if you get between Mama and her cubs, the happiness is going to end in a hurry, and it may not be favorable to you. So, you do not want to do that. That's why you like to make a little racket, like I'm talking right now. Although, it is my nature to want to be quiet in the woods, because you can't sneak up on something making a lot of racket. And I'm the kind of guy that actually likes to sneak up on stuff. Kind of crazy thing for bear country. It's not advisable. But if you're just out, if you know what you're doing, you got your stuff about you, you got ways to defend yourself, you might want to do that, especially if you're in a tactical situation. If you're hunting Bigfoot or something that, you know, if you're hunting, don't be making racket. If you're on the prowl type hunting. If it's tree stand, it's a different matter. But this whole notion of making a lot of racket, it's got its time and place. But in a normal hike into the woods, yeah, make a lot of racket. But have that bear spray. Bears are nearly blind. They can't tell how big you really are. So if you hold up a dead branch and wave it around, especially if you got some leaves in, that bear is going to think you're that big. And it might leave you alone. You might scare it off. Another thing recently was reported two fishermen on the riverbank. This bear started stalking them, walking alongside them as they tried to slowly walk away. They knew not to run. So they were slowly walking away, slowly, I say. And it's going to go bear, whoa bear, very, you know, deep, but consistent, not yelling. You yell, you might excite it, but go bear, you know, just kind of consistent. Go bear, bye bear, go home, bear, go home. You know, kind of stuff. Of course, bear don't speak English, but you know, it's just the tone of the voice that really matters. Just don't know of any bear that speaks English except Yogi Bear. Anyway, guys, so that's the thing. I'm gonna tell you what I did in a little bit, though. So these are things to do. Of course, they say if a bear attacks you, play dead. Of course, it's going to maul the heck out of you. Now, if that bear wants you for food, that's a whole different thing. If it's a predator and it's decided you're something neat, which bears do that, then most of your defense mechanisms are going to be somewhat less than totally effective. That bear is liable to come after you. Right now I'm walking around to actually stay free as much as I can. Now, the deadliest creature there is, and that's the mosquito, which is all around me here. The mosquitoes are everywhere. The mosquitoes are bad out here right now. So I'm trying to stay free of them by moving. And always something beautiful out here, like a little fern. It's always worthwhile to take a nature walk, guys. There's always something to see. Like maybe something made a den under there, a rabbit or something. Always something to see, something to look at. So guys, mosquitoes are all in my face. That's why I'm wearing these glasses right now. So I don't get my eyes. Yikes. I put spray over the rest of me. So guys, the bear who wants to eat you is a whole nother matter. Now it might tear you up. Playing dead might work. It might think it can come back and get you after it drags you off to wherever it wants to eat you. I've heard of people having that happen to them and surviving. But there's no guarantee in that. I had a friend who was a state trooper in Alaska many years ago. He told me that this photographer thought he could handle bear, and everybody was warning him to be careful, and he was dismissive of, oh, I know what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. Well, they found his camera. I think the guy told me in the bear's stomach. Last picture was that bear's mouth wide open, coming at the camera. That was the last picture on the film. They developed the roll. That was the last picture on the film. So, bear stories don't always end well. Seeing mountain men used to get into it with bears. It's just all too easy to do. Bears are bears. Cats, though, bears are loud. They can't be as quiet as a cat, not usually. They'll sneak up on you at nighttime in your tent, though. You know, if you got stuff out, if you're camping out, I wouldn't do my cooking and food preparation right next to the tent unless I was exceedingly clean about it. Especially if you're dressing game, you might want to do that away from your tent. All those animal smells, the cleaning smells, have that somewhere else. Take you a bag. I'll have to show you one. I just pulled my bag out that I used to use hiking and put it up, hop on a limb on a tree somewhere. Suspend it, tie it off, so the bears can climb. A big one might not try a skinny tree. So there's different strategies you might try, but the big thing is to have that food away from you. You can get it away from the other animals, or smaller animals that might get it. Bear, a little different matter, but you don't want to have it on you in your tent when you're asleep. Okay, cats. When I was about 12 years old, I got this knife. This is my bolo knife. I've covered this in a few videos. I've had this since I was 12 years old. I've had this knife for 51 years. 51 years. And I was off to go hiking. And very handy knife, see? This is a multi-tool for me. If it was the only tool if I only had to pick one tool I could take out in the wilderness with me, it'd be this. Yet and I go a long way back, and I know it. In any event, so I was walking back from my best friend's grandma's place, 2 miles across woods and fields and stuff. And I still was a kid. Time I was 12 till I got my driver's license when I was 16. I'd cut across the woods and the fields. But this day, I come across something really strange. I was coming up a plateau, or coming up the valley of where the creek was, the hollow. And it came up like this, and there was a little plateau stuck out above it, a little rock outcropping. And I was coming up beside it. When I got up the top and looked to my right, there was a big cat there. I froze. That was my instinct. No, run. No, freeze. You don't want to excite the animal. You didn't know what the heck it was. At first, my mind had a disconnect. Like, that can't be here. What is that? That can't be here. Maybe, I'm trying to second guess it. Maybe it's a rock. And then it turned its head around and looked right at me. And at first, where its eyeball was, fell right in line with a big old yellow leaf that was hanging down. It had a hole in the middle. That kind of startled me. But then I realized what I was looking at. And I know what a bobcat looks like. I've come up on a really big bobcat in this area. A really huge one. No, it didn't look anything like it. It had a long tail. And it was bigger than a bobcat. Man, this bobcat was big. Bobcats can get big, don't kid yourself. Lynx is even bigger, I guess. But this thing was huge. Just laying there, looking at me. And I was looking at that. It'd move its head around a little bit, but it'd look at me. You know how I am when I'm out here, I'm always looking around. You've seen a lot of my videos, except maybe today I'm looking at this camera more than normal. But, you know, situational awareness. Know what's around you. Know what's around you. But anyway, I did not move for a little bit. I knew that if I ran or did anything, I might trigger the predator instinct. And the only thing I had on me for defense was this. Now, a 12-year-old boy with this beats a 12-year-old boy with a popsicle for fighting a mountain lion. But I knew my chances was going to be somewhat less than spectacular if that thing jumped me. Practically non-existent. It was going to be very bad. It could have been very ugly in a huge hurry. So I picked one foot up very slowly. Very slow, like a glacier moving. Set it down. Cat didn't do anything. Oh, I wasn't yelling at that cat. Probably I had a boy voice back then anyway. And I picked the other foot up very, 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 very slowly. Inched it for a little bit, set it down. And I walked out of those woods about like a glacier. Very slowly for a long distance. Keep my eye on that cat. That cat didn't move. Stayed right there. Stayed right there. Did not move. I slowly walked out of those woods. Got up into the pasture. Kept walking real slow. Long ways through that pasture. Long ways. Until I got far away from that thing. I mean far away. Close to the old house I lived in when I was first really young, till I was 5 years old, and later again when I was 17 to 18. Then that's where I run into that house. Because I knew I'd probably make it then. But I waited a long way before I picked up any speed. I mean, I moved like a glacier. And it didn't come after me. So, could this thing have defended me? Maybe. Could it defend me today? Maybe better. I was in the Sipsey Wilderness area when we had wild hogs there. And I was the only person in the whole group that had anything that might defend them, being my bolo knife. And wild hogs could have come after us. They didn't. They just kind of went about their merry way and ignored us. Now sometimes they'll do that. Sometimes they might come after you. We were lucky. But in any event, this thing's been very handy to me. This is an axe, a knife, self-defense tool. You can use it to clear brush like a machete. It's not quite as long as a machete, but it's thicker. I use this to tend my campfires. This old tree I'm sitting on is wanting to break. You might see me fall in a minute. And I use it as a shovel. See that broad end on it? This is my camp shovel, my camp axe, my camp machete, and a means of self-defense, all in one fell swoop. That's why I like the bolo knife. I've had it almost all my life. Most of it. Most of it. 51 years ago I got that. And it might have saved my life if I'd have needed it. I don't know. That's conjecture. Probably not. Mountain lion on a 12-year-old. Who knows? Maybe I'd have got lucky and swung it just right. Now, I had a best friend that had a knife like this. And we'd been the idiots that we were. We used to spar with them. We would, hit it on the knife blades, not each other. We had to really sharpen them later to get all the nicks out of them because we put knock marks in the blade. But yeah, this has been used for dueling. But not the kind where we're really wanting to cut each other up. But we could have slipped. It's amazing that we're still alive, the stupid things we do when we're kids. That was stupid. I confess it. Kids don't have all their senses, and they think they're immortal. But in any event, somehow I survived growing up. Somehow. Many things. Coulda, shoulda, Took me out, I suppose. Maybe should have. It's not the right word because I'm still here. But it's an amazing thing. It's a really amazing thing that I'm here. So guys, that's the thing. You see a big cat, you don't get excited. Don't run. Don't run from any predator. I don't even do it from dogs. Usually if I see a dog, used to when I was out jogging, if I'd see a dog, I'd just turn and run at it. Most of them will turn around and run away once you turn and run at it. Occasionally there's one or two that don't. Then you know you might be in trouble. For that reason, I'd always, just before I started running, I'd try to pick up some gravel. If they sort of come at me, I'd throw gravel at them. That usually works. They don't like that. That might work with a cat or something, but you know, you can find gravel on the road. Not in the woods. Smell have something else. That bear spray, remember that. That'll work with most predators. Bear spray. Or a nug. For a bear, you need a really big nug, like 44 caliber. High power. 30-06, oh, I just make a grizz mad. Maybe a black bear might take care of. But a grizz, ooh, just make them mad. They'll eat you alive if you do that. Trust me. I knew guys that had that happen to them in Alaska. 2 guys baited a grizz, actually last a brown bear. They both had 30-06s and both of them wound up with hundreds of stitches in them, and they pumped hundreds of rounds in that bear before they took it out. And they were probably lucky. The bear wasn't, but they were tore up. So yeah, they were lucky they survived, to be honest. Be careful. Be careful. That's what Lewis and Clark expedition found out there. Kentucky rifles wouldn't work against the grizzly bears. It really astonished them. Because they've been taking a black bear all the time with those, and suddenly they found a bear that too much. All right, my friends, thank you for watching. Consider getting some. Go to prepwithgreg.com, look for long-term food storage, but also watching my videos on how to eat free from the weeds in the trees. Thank you for watching. Greg out.